The archipelago of the Falkland Islands, Las Malvinas, is up for ownership again as of one day ago. And I don't think really we should be that surprised, because the British government and indeed British military bosses have been saying, in an attempt, I think, to get more money out of the Treasury, that they almost certainly don't have the funds and the equipment to mount another campaign like the Falklands campaign in the 1980s, and that they probably wouldn't have enough equipment to defend the country, our country. It's absurd, casual and stupid of our military elite to have made these comments, and our senior politicians to have made these comments openly. It might be a tribute to an open society, but of course it plays into the hands of people who are going to take advantage of it, and here is an example. So there was an agreement reached by Theresa May and President Macri in 2016, and now the Falkland Islands are up for negotiation again. Well, of course, the position of the Falklands Islands was negotiated, it was in negotiations from the 1980s up until 2016. So actually not very much has changed at all. And cleverly, the Foreign Secretary has said the Falkland Islands are British. Islanders have the right to decide their own future. They've chosen to remain a self-governing UK overseas territory. But the British Minister for the Americas, David Rutley, has said that he's disappointed that Buenos Aires has, quote, chosen to step away from an agreement that had brought comfort to the families of those killed in the 1982 war. He says that Argentina, the UK and the Falklands all benefited from this agreement. Argentina made the decision a day after a group of British parliamentarians visited the Falklands, and the government said the visitors spent time with soldiers, sailors, aviators at the British Forces South Atlantic Islands base, which is administered by Strategic Command, to better understand the issues that affect the armed forces community. Again, the amount of attention that we give to the Falkland Islands, the amount of people who are sent over there, simply draws the subject onto the negotiating table. I don't think anybody wants any further conflict in the world. We've already got this major conflict of the Ukraine-Russian war, and there's other conflicts as well, in Syria and in Yemen and so on. And I think starting something new is really bad. We need to get down to negotiating. We can't be telling other people to negotiate if we don't negotiate. It makes perfect sense. In 1982, I remember the war very clearly. I had friends who were fighting in it. 255 British soldiers were killed, 3 islanders were killed, and 649 Argentinian soldiers, many of them conscripts, many of them young boys, were killed in the conflict. We don't want to go there again, and at the same time we want to respect the decision of the people who are living in the islands. And the Falklands, by a quirk of history, is a British overseas territory. And at a time when really we should be thinking about uniting countries rather than dividing them, there is room for negotiation. And I think the same spirit should dominate our negotiations about Northern Ireland and about Scottish independence. There is no room for Scottish independence today. There is only room for talking about different forms of devolution. In the same way, frankly, the idea of Brexit is a misnomer. There can be no Brexit. As John Donne said, no man is an island. We are part of a larger continent. We are part of the main. And whatever we do affects others, and what they do affects us. We are an interconnected society. And the more we recognize our interconnections, the better our society will be. The same is true of Russia and Ukraine. This obsession for grabbing land from one another, for staking our flag in somebody else's soil. This is the stuff of the 19th century, and we should have learnt from the misfortunes that we imposed on others and that others imposed on us. And we shouldn't do it anymore. We should recognize that we are better as a community together.